I did like it overall and just made it flow very nicely, I thought. Yeah. It was very reminiscent of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was told in 6 parts. So, yeah.
Really?
What's up, YouTube? Drive-By Movies here, and you are watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name's Blaze.
And today we're checking out the Academy Award nominated film for Best Foreign Feature, The Worst Person in the World.
Skjønner du liksom hva du er I ferd med å gjøre nå? Skjønner du hva du ødelegger og...
Ja, selvfølgelig.
The Worst Person in the World chronicles 4 years in the life of Julie, a young woman who navigates the troubled waters of her love life and struggles to find her career path, leading her to take a realistic look at who she really is. So, James, I think both of us have been a Joachim Trier fan for probably since, honestly, well, I wouldn't say his first movie, actually. I haven't gone back to see that, but since Oslo, August 31st, which is the second film in the Oslo trilogy of films, I guess. This is the final film of that trilogy, so it's cool that we finally got to check it out, but I think we probably got our homework to do, finish the trilogy from the first end, actually. But yeah, I think we're fans. We watched, we were really stoked for Louder Than Bombs, maybe a little bit disappointed coming out of that one, but yeah. I think that this one definitely lived up to, for me, this one definitely lived up to the hype in which I saw in the film Oslo August 31st, what I thought that he was capable of as a director.
Exactly. This is more what I wanted, after, it was kind of hard to follow up, I guess. Oslo August 31st was one of my favorite movies from back when it came out. I think that was 2013 or so. But like that movie, though, also, this is one that's beautifully shot, well crafted, and just feels so authentic and real. Like this is it. This is what it feels like and stuff, to just pull emotion through, watching it through a TV screen or whether you watch it through a theater and stuff. And just it's hard to watch at times, but the hype is real with this one. A lot of people have been raving about it, and no, it did not win the best foreign film. I've still yet to see Drive My Car. It's on my list too, but this one though was so fantastic. It definitely would have been one of my favorites of last year, if not my favorite film of last year. That is fantastic. What are your initial thoughts after checking it out?
Yeah, definitely. I think this kind of scratched the itch of what I was wanting from last year. I feel like no other films really gave me just kind of that honest, I felt like this was just a very honest look into, a particular time in one's life that specifically I feel like me and you can relate to at this moment in time. And yeah, I just feel like, I didn't really watch I watched a decent amount of the Academy films, and this was one I think that I was stoked for, but I was always kind of just waiting, all right, when is it finally going to be on streaming? And then it went to streaming, kind of just waited, and finally we're like, all right, the Academy Awards are coming up, and this is past tense. I was thinking, okay, yeah, we should check at least one film out. After seeing that this didn't win, it didn't stop us. We still just checked this out. But yeah, I think that I didn't watch any of the other films in that category, but maybe I feel like in a little bit it was probably rubbed, to be completely honest. But I think, honestly, Joachim Trier will come out with something. Hopefully his career just keeps blossoming and keeps making, more interesting movies. One thing I really appreciate about his films is I feel like, especially the ones that are shot in Oslo or just his Norwegian films, I think Louder Than Bombs was here in the States, so that doesn't really count, but I do feel like his films might not feel entirely cinematic for the most part, but there's always just these almost cherry picked moments that are extremely cinematic. Specifically thinking about this film, I'm thinking about the moment where time is almost paused. It really reminded me of the film Cashback, and I felt like it was almost just this little homage and nod to Sean Ellis. So I just felt like that was just a cool little homage, and maybe it wasn't, but honestly it did borrow a little bit from that film, and definitely another indie film, that an art house movie that a lot of people appreciate. So I like that he can find these moments to be extra cinematic, but at the same time be kind of grounded in this like super almost realism, and especially the movies that he's made in this Oslo trilogy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that, of course, that scene, like it kind of comes out of nowhere, and you're like wondering, like just because it feels so real, and then gets into that fantasy like element where it's like a long scene too, and it's a great transition. Like it's a good, like I'm pretty sure that's midway through the movie too, and just like that first half, like I was really into like setting up Julie as like a great character and seeing where she goes, even though it was like, you know, like that was the last kind of like happy moment, despite it not being like necessarily like her best moment, I'd say, just because she still technically was with her with Axel at the time. But I liked the way it was cut and the way it was like put through her imagination, and then leading up to like the more heavier moments within the film too that are so well done. And like overall, like there isn't like a whole lot of resolutions within this movie, but that's what I like. I like that authenticity of this movie and stuff, and just seeing in the different directions that everyone goes in, and like it makes sense like overall the way it ends at times. It's just like also kind of depressing, and but you're just like, it's just a happy watch though, just knowing it feels like everything's gonna be okay while watching it, just because even though it feels very real, and like, you know, it's very reminiscent to like, you know, people like us who are in our early 30s and stuff, and that's what she's going through, trying to figure herself out. And it's just cool to see movies like this where it's not just in your 20s, it'll continue to your 30s and even your 40s, like Axel, it seems like. Yeah,
most definitely. I think that the thing that I think hurt the most with this about this film, like I think overall I agree with you. I feel like it is just like an honest watch. I can appreciate most everything in it, and it just feels very authentic. I think that's really the thing that he captured there. But I think the thing that just hurts the most is Axel's whole storyline is just it's just like, I don't know, it leaves you it leaves you almost exactly the way that he leaves like this world, is just like, damn, like literally I think his last thing he was saying was like, I just wish, you know, like it hadn't ended this way, or we had ended this way. And it's just like, damn, like that's the shit that hurt right there. And honestly, I felt like it was a very beautiful moment. Like, especially sometimes the thing that I love the most about this film is it just felt very much like life. Like not everything needs an explanation. And sometimes, you know, there's a lot of ups and downs, but it's the memories and each kind of, you know, thing that you take from everything, all the lessons you take that kind of set you up for the next part of your life, or the next chapter of your story, essentially. So yeah, I just really enjoyed that. How'd you feel about the kind of chapter format in this? Because it is chronological, but there is like sometimes you see a chapter that's, you know, only just one scene really.
Yeah, it makes it kind of easy to digest. I liked the way that it was edited. I liked that it was edited that way for a movie that was 2 hours. Like, you know, I had moments to pause and it didn't feel like I was like stretching out the movie too much longer by pausing. Like, I would say like, yeah, maybe the movie might be a little too long. We're still huge advocates for the 90-minute runtime, but it never really bugged me that this movie was just a smidge over 2 hours. With those like pause moments, like it gave me the moment to pause or to digest what I just watched and stuff. And a lot of them are a lot more digestible than the other, especially towards the ending. The last like 4 are the more difficult one. Not difficult to watch, but just the more like, oh, you know, this is like more on the downer side and everything. But like that there's a drug sequence, just a happy sequence of getting together. Like there's just a bunch of random sequences, like actually no, there's like 14, right? There's 12, and then there's the prologue and the epilogue too, and each one is like relatively short. There's a couple there that are like the longer of the bunch, but I did like it overall and just made it flow very nicely, I thought. Yeah, it was very reminiscent of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was told in 6 parts. So yeah.
Really? I imagine each part was probably an hour at that rate, though, right? What was the final runtime on that?
That movie was like 4 hours, maybe a little bit over 4 hours, and it's like split into 6 parts. Yeah, I think each part's like 45 minutes or so. But yeah, I was just joking around, of course. But yeah, I just thought it was a funny connection. Like, love to see some Zack Snyder people like, oh, he definitely set the stage for, although crazy Zack Snyder fans thinking like, oh, he set the stage for movies like this. Justice League walked so that the greatest or the worst person in the world could run.
All right, that's gonna be the title for the episode. So one thing I like searching, like doing the kind of looking for all the trivia and bits behind the film, like the stories behind the movie. Sometimes I like, for me as like a huge movie buff and just fan of movies, love everything movies, I always find that like some of the stories behind films can be some of the most interesting, hopefully not more interesting than what's on the screen, but sometimes the stories can be interesting and highly entertaining. But one of the ones that came out of this film was the fact that the lead actress, Renee, was pretty much ready to give up on acting and kind of pursue a career in her hobby that she had fell in love with. I think that was carpentry. She was fell in love with woodworking, and she was pretty much giving up on acting. She had appeared in Oslo August 31st. That was the last time she worked with Joachim Trier, and she had only had 2 lines in that film, but he had kind of met with her a couple of times, and they had kind of come up with the idea for this film, like the concept of like basically like their thoughts and ideas about like falling in love essentially and relationships, and that's how they kind of came up with this movie. And it was written like for her to be the lead. So I just thought that was cool. Like, had this film not been made, she wouldn't have won the Best Actress award at Cannes, and she would have just been a carpenter. Maybe she can go back to it at some later date, but I feel like this might blossom like her career more than that.
No, absolutely. Like, she's a natural at it, and just like the chemistry. I mean, of course, Axel. I think like I love the best moments in the movie are between Julie and Axel, I'd say. But the opening sequence though between her and Ivan, though, you just feel that tension and their chemistry blossoming, and even though like you're like, oh no, like don't cheat on each other and stuff, but nothing ever happens. I mean, of course they're playing a little bit with fire in that sequence, but like just like I love their chemistry with that, and then also the way they interact during the shroom scenes and stuff too. Like, I mean, she has great chemistry with every single person within this movie, and whether even it's the difficult scene with her father too and stuff, like the lack of chemistry there feels very natural, of course on purpose, but yeah, like she's fantastic, and I hope to see her in more movies, whether it's through Joaquin's next film or future films, or just through other filmmakers and stuff too. Like 100% agree.
So this honestly wouldn't be a conversation about the worst person in the world if we didn't mention the drug sequence like everyone else.
Yes.
I just was curious, how did that, like, how do you feel like, do you feel like that? I feel like that scene honestly portrayed magic mushrooms very well. In a way,
definitely
that
the
was
floor scene. Yeah, that I mean, I plead the fifth if you were a cop watching, but otherwise, if you're not a narc, what's it called? Like, yeah, that definitely was like the visuals. Like, kind of remember. I think like it kind of hit them a little too suddenly. Like that one guy started laying on the wall. That was like comically like, oh, I'm okay, and like, I'm gonna hug this wall. Like that was a little comically done, but though, like. Yes, I've done things like that. Like, oh, I just want to touch this wall and lean against it and lay here. Oh, I just want to look at the floor. Oh, I just wanted to do this and that. And I don't know what Julie got into. I mean, we know some of the things that she got into, but like seemed like it was a wild night for her, and can't speak on like all that stuff. But the visuals,
I guess the visual. I guess I was literally just talking about the visual, but the entire scene and like experience was a lot. But I appreciate like the use of visual effects there. I thought was awesome. It was almost felt seamless, and it was almost like nightmare fuel at the same time. But it was just very uncomfortable. But I didn't feel like it was, too far from the truth in a way. Like I was like, oh, this is also very realistic, almost like the entire film. But it was like a cool scene that I didn't feel like was, it didn't go for the, dude, where's my car, bro? Like, I didn't feel like it was like anything like that.
No, which I appreciate, and I love when directors actually know what direction they can go with it and stuff. Like, I think we all love like what we all remember from that 70s show was like the circle and stuff, but it was way overdone and stuff. Anyone who's done that, like, it's illegal, like knows that that's not the case on how it normally is, but it's still fun. But yeah, there's a lot of fun sequences within this movie, and depressing too, but just it's been a while since a movie's made me feel this way, and like I'm glad, like I wish I experienced it in a cinema. This is like the kind of movie that like I would have like sat there, watched the credits, thought about, wanted to get a drink and talk about it with the person I watched it with and stuff. And it got me excited again, just because like last year, my favorite movie of last year was Malignant. Like, what am I doing? Like this year, at least I had After Yang, and there's a couple of movies I'm looking forward to seeing as well too. But like it just like I'm feeling excited again to get back to the cinema and see movies like this. Like I thought like, oh, last year, like I loved Malignant, but I didn't want that to be my favorite movie of the year. And this and After Yang like is making me feel good. And even X also, like an A24 film. Damn, like I'm excited to be checking out good movies again. So 2022 looking good.
Definitely. So yeah, I think if you guys have the ability to check this out, I think it's really only available in theaters, as well as it might even be out of theaters, honestly, at this point, but it's available to rent on all your streaming video platforms. So I definitely recommend checking it out. I think it's a gem. I think honestly, it wasn't the only travesty at the Oscars this year, but yeah, just check it out.
Yeah. Great way to help support the show. It is playing in 2 theaters in LA. I know that. But if you don't have access to those theaters in LA, which I'm sure most people don't, be sure to check it out. There are Amazon affiliate link in our description box below. That's a great way to help support the show.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click the notification bell to get all latest updates.
And if you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, be sure to catch all our social media links down below with Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So that'll conclude this week's episode, guys. Tune in next week for a brand new video.